Welcome in to the newest episode of the Hoth Hangout podcast. Glad to have you here with us, joining us for episode 61, where Joey and I are very excited to talk about the Star Wars holiday Lego special. I may have mixed some of those words around there, but the Star Wars holiday Lego special, the Star Wars Lego holiday special, however you swing it, that's what we're going to be talking about today. I also got a couple of big pieces of breaking news that we're going to be talking about as well. But before we get into that, do want to remind you that if you are not yet subscribed to the Hoth Hangout podcast over on YouTube, definitely check us out there for the video version of every single podcast, as well as our reactions to the latest Star Wars episodes and shows. Additionally, you can always contact us at hothhangout@gmail.com. Shoot us your questions or thoughts, whether they are Star Wars related or otherwise, and we would love to showcase them here on the podcast. Additionally, you can check out the Hoth Hangout podcast anywhere you get your pods, whether it be Apple Pods or Spotify. Definitely leave us a 5-star review if you are listening to us currently on either one of those platforms. We would very much appreciate that so much. Additionally, we are reachable on all the socials, whether it be Instagram, TikTok, or X at Hoth Hangout on each of those. And again, we've got a fun episode today. Last week also had a really fun episode. Our first time we welcomed in some guests to the Hoth Hangout podcast. Joey Gibbo and I had a blast having our wonderful guests on last week. And if you haven't managed to catch episode 60 of the Hoth Hangout podcast, we'll pin that one down in the show notes below. Joey, what's going on, man? How you doing?
We are talking about two things that I love: Star Wars and Lego. Oh my god, are you kidding me? This is a dream come true, and it's the holiday season. I can't believe this.
Mm-hmm.
This is it's Christmas for me for sure. But yeah, no, doing pretty good. We like you said, I had a ton of fun last week with Lainey, Keith, and Kerwin, and Ezra, and of course the three of us. Something that we've been waiting to do for months now, and finally had an opportunity to do it. So I loved having them on. I hope they have a wonderful holiday season. And of course, Lainey is married now.
Oh, that's
So
right. Yeah.
congratulations to her if you're out there. But yeah, I can't wait to either have them on or do that again. That was a ton of fun. But today, yeah, we're gonna do a little Star Wars Lego holiday Lego Star Wars, whatever it is, and it's gonna be a lot of fun today.
Yeah, I mean, this is your episode. If we've ever had one that is like specifically Joey's episode, Joey, not only a big fan of Star Wars, but also a big fan of Legos. We've also showcased a couple of your Lego
Yeah,
things over
here's
the
my
course
latest
of
one.
time. Well, let's
Little
see it. Those of you watching
little
the
Yoda
video version,
Starfighter. Little
nice.
Yoda Starfighter. Yep, yep, yep.
Little R2 on top
Yeah,
there.
you can open that up right here, and you can see
Hey,
our friend Yoda in there. Look at that.
how
He stands
fitting.
up in his Starfighter. Apparently, I did not realize he
I
doesn't
mean,
sit.
he,
He
he
actually
he's
just
like
stands
three
in there.
feet tall, so he
Yeah,
probably
yeah, pretty
probably
good.
can stand up.
Yep.
That's pretty neat.
But yeah, I do like the Star. I do like the Star Wars Lego.
By the way, complete side note for those of you who are also basketball fans and Star Wars fans, which is probably few of you, but that qualifies both of us. And so, um, Miles Turner, a player on the Indiana Pacers, which for those of you who don't know, that's a professional basketball team. He has one of the world's largest Lego collections,
Is
and
that really?
yes, you should look it up. He was showcasing some of his stuff, and he's got, like, this massive Millennium Falcon and,
Oh, I know
massive
which one
Star
it is. I
Destroyer.
think
Yeah,
that's
so
incredible. All right,
pretty
well,
cool.
I just found my new favorite NBA player.
Yeah, there you go.
Not on the
Oh,
Bulls. I'll tell you that much.
hey, he could get traded there someday.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I missed out on the festive wear as well, by the way. I didn't go with
No.
I'll wear festive for next
Okay.
podcast,
Yeah.
episode 62. We do have a couple pieces of juicy news for today's podcast. I think the first one came out, gosh, it probably wasn't long after last week's episode released. And it's in relation to Adam Driver. For those of course, who don't know, that's the actor who played Kylo Ren in the sequel trilogy. And basically, Adam Driver went on this show. I believe it was the Rich Eisen show, and was talking a lot about, I think, not just Star Wars, but just kind of his role and his role and his time as an actor. And so, of course, one of the major things that a lot of people know Adam Driver for is playing this character of Kylo Ren. And so basically, the big piece of news that came out from this was that his arc as Kylo, which we probably could have guessed, but this was, a whole nother thing hearing it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, that it completely changed over the course of Force Awakens, and then with Last Jedi, and then Rise of Skywalker. Did you get a chance, by the way, Joey, to watch the video of this interview at all?
I watched clips of it, but not in its entirety.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I guess I only watch clips as well, and one of the clips that I watched, I think he was talking about how the directors handled it from film to film, and how when he began in Episode 7, his character was almost the anti Vader, in the sense that Vader, for the original trilogy, kind of, and even if you want to include the prequels in this too, kind of transforms from this young boy into this like menacing threat of the galaxy. But in
Mhm.
the end, Vader's arc is a redemptive one. And it's my understanding, at least from this interview with Adam Driver, that Kylo Ren's original arc was kind of meant to be the opposite of that. That he's kind of like just ends up being this big bad menace. Which, if you look at Episode 7, kind of a big indication of that is the killing of Han Solo. And so, um, you know what I've never done? I've never watched Episode 7 and then Episode 9, because I feel like those two films in particular, his character is very different. I
Mm.
don't know. What were you thinking when you heard some of these, thoughts from Adam Driver?
I thought it was a shame because it would have been interesting. I think it would have been more interesting if that's what he ended up being even more into the dark side by the end of episode 9. That's essentially what he was saying in this interview, right? So, um, to have that kind of stolen away from us because, we're used to the Vader arc and to have some redemption at the end there, and that's essentially what he ended up doing at the end of episode 9. But I think, one of the things that one of our viewers, and Vesuvi, had mentioned earlier is that it would've been great to experiment with that kind of character, or just in general, experimenting with these the sequel trilogy, where maybe the bad guy is just the bad guy, and he continues to go down that road. And, the the separation of the light and dark is much more clear when you have Rey on one side, if you have Kylo on the other, where there isn't that, total gray area where she's kind of showing some tendencies to the dark side, he's showing tendencies to the light, and I know that you love that gray area, but I think for the what he was saying here, there was a chance that it really could have been really split, and I think, especially given what we were actually given in the last episode of this, the Skywalker saga, I feel like it could have been really impactful to see how different those sides really were, and it's unfortunate though. Adam Driver's a great actor. He would have killed it in that role, I think, if he went into that, 'cause it didn't feel like they really utilized his acting abilities that great, kind of throughout the entire 3, maybe, like, honestly, Last Jedi might have been more of a kind of showing off his chops more than anything.
Mhm.
But, throughout the entire sequel trilogy, I feel they didn't really harness his true acting, abilities. And I think if we would have seen this particular arc where he goes deeper and deeper into the dark side, and, if it's like he pulls Rey in or, anything like that, I think it would have done his part a little bit more justice than what we ended up with.
Yeah. Yeah, I think actors kind of have that curse of being forever associated with the character, and sometimes it's a good thing, but oftentimes it's not. And
Mm.
so, in the case of Kylo Ren, it's gotta be Adam Driver, I guess I should say, it's gotta be frustrating to receive that script, that Force Awakens script, and kind of get some insight maybe from JJ Abrams, and you think, "Oh, I see where we're going with this." Like, I'm excited about these next 3 movies.
Right.
And then, with the turnover with directors, the changing of how the character is, like, and just, the incontinuity between each of the films, which we've talked about a lot before here on the podcast. If I feel frustrated for him, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
And people so heavily associate him with the character, and I think it could have been one of his finer performances. And ironically, it is probably one of the ones he's most well known for, if not the most well known for. And so all that to say, I think it could have gone a lot differently and perhaps a lot better than it did.
Yes.
Uh, I was just going to read this really quick quote, and I thought it was funny because he says this long thing about the Force Awakens and his time with JJ, and how something we talked about earlier, how Kylo Ren's journey was meant to sort of be the anti Vader, starting from like very vulnerable and then getting stronger and stronger in the dark side, as opposed to kind of what Vader went through. So, Adam Driver says this whole thing about The Force Awakens and how he was, looking forward to the development of that plot. And then the next paragraph it says, Ryan Johnson. This is a quote from Adam Driver. Driver said Ryan Johnson took Kylo Ren's original arc in a different direction, unquote, with The Last Jedi, although it still tracked with the character. He also said that wasn't the case with The Rise of Skywalker. So,
Mm,
kind of just throwing a little bit of shade on
a
Episode
little
9
shade.
right there.
Yeah.
But anyways, and I guess we should pose that to all of you listening as well.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Kylo Ren as a character? What are your thoughts on after hearing this interview of Adam Driver? Would you prefer to sort of see him in this anti-Vader role from the entirety of Episode 7 to Episode 9? So, what could have been? We'll never know. We will never perhaps know. Maybe years from now we'll get the sequel trilogy reissued
We'll get
and
the, Snyder cut version of the sequel trilogy, yeah,
yes.
whatever that if that exists.
The Lucas cut, the Filoni
Mhm.
cut, or something like that. I don't know. The other piece of news, which is actually also a pretty big piece of news before we move into the bulk of today's episode, involves or surrounds the show Andor. Andor, the second season, it was announced. Again, this is not an official Star Wars announcement, but a lot of our recent reports that we've done for news segments on the podcast have come from the Bespin Bulletin, which, for those who don't know, that's a very renowned and well, well respected Star Wars news source, and almost often, or excuse me, almost always tends to be right. And so, this news coming from the bestmanbulletin.com, I think we actually showcased one of their articles perhaps 2 weeks ago in a podcast.
Mhm.
The news, of course, being that Andor season 2 is no longer slated to come out next year in 2024, but has now been pushed back all the way to early 2025, marking the third show, I believe, in just the recent months that has been pushed back in some form or another, along with Skeleton Crew. And I don't know if Acolyte was ever actually pushed back, but I think people speculated originally that it may have come out in 2023. And of course, we know that's now not the case. But as it currently stands, Skeleton Crew is scheduled to come out in November of 2024, Acolyte as soon as the second quarter of 2024, and now Andor not until early 2025. So, another kind of bummer of a piece of news over the weekend that we're going to have to wait, considerably longer than we might have anticipated originally for the release of the second season of this show. Joey, I want to get your thoughts, but also I wanted to tell you that over the weekend, I was talking with someone who listens to the podcast, and she said that she watched last week's episode with our guests and was astounded that no one had Andor in fifth place,
Oh, what?
because she can't stand Andor. I was like, no, we
Wow.
love Andor.
I mean, I think for all intents and purposes, they kind of, I think Laney's was close to being
Yeah,
5th
Lainey and
because,
Ezra, yeah, had it at
yeah, I
four, I
mean, they
think.
both had 4th, but I think Laney was closer to it being down to 5th, the way that she was talking about it and not, like, enjoying it as much, but
Right, right.
yeah, I mean, yeah, next year, unfortunately, with the strikes and everything that had happened this year, it kind of makes sense. I you know, I don't know where they are in their production, Andor's. I thought that they were, um I thought that they were done filming it, but I'm not quite sure where they are with, Andor stuff, but, to t unfortunate to have to wait, a whole another year for that, but I'm questioning where's Bad Batch at? Where I don't think I've heard anything about Bad Batch, and, I hope that actually comes out this coming year as well, so I'm okay with spreading it out because I think it was tough for you and me when we had what did we have? Didn't we have Andor and Bad Batch in the same weeks?
Yeah, we were
That
doing it
was
at the same time, yeah.
those are kinda tough to I mean, I think, as a consumer of Star Wars media, I think it's okay to have that, but when you're running a podcast and you you got to talk about all that, it gets a little bit difficult. Good problems to have, I suppose. But um, would love to. So I'm okay with them spreading these out, whether it's the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew and now Andor. So as long as I don't have to wait too long, I don't want to have to wait like 8 months between series. So, uh, but yeah, that's unfortunate, but I'm sure there's good reason to it, and it goes for anything that ever gets pushed out like this. If it comes back and it's a really good product, then I don't care that I had to wait longer, because I
Mhm.
would
Yeah.
assume that they had to do that in order to get the product to be a little bit better. So, unfortunate, but I'll be here. I'll be waiting.
You mentioned you don't wanna wait 8 months. It might be 8 months
Yeah.
between the end of Ahsoka and the next live action show we get at this point.
You don't have to remind me that. I mean, the holiday season. At least we got the holiday season in the middle of
True,
it,
true.
and we can kind of reset by at the beginning of the year.
Yes, yes. Well, yeah, like you said, we'll look forward to season 2 whenever it does come out. Hopefully, early 25 and
And
not late 20.
this is supposed to be the last season, yes? 'Cause doesn't
I
this go
honestly
right
don't
up to
know.
Rogue One? I thought this one goes right up to right into Rogue One.
That may be. I'm honestly not Gibbo is saying yes. Okay, so
Mhm,
yeah, I actually didn't know that season 2 of Andor was intended to be the last season. Which, I guess that makes me feel slightly less worse about this news. Because
mhm,
if it's the last season, I'm like, okay, I guess take your time making it as good as you possibly can.
right.
And I'm sure a lot of the pushing back, we should also mention of these shows like Acolyte, Andor, and Skeleton Crew is probably largely due to the ongoing writers' strikes that were, you know, kind of throughout the second, or I guess it would have been the fourth quarter of 2023 predominantly. And so, that's worth noting that that probably played a big hand in this as well. But nonetheless, like you said, we're pumped for it, and you also just mentioned the holiday season, which is a perfect opportunity for us to transition into talking about our topic for today's episode, the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special. I think I've called it everything from like the Star Wars Lego Holiday Special, the Holiday Lego Star Wars Special. I guess officially it is the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special. And so I guess we should preface this by saying Joey and I, gosh, it's probably been about a year ago now, watched the, like, original Star Wars Holiday Special, which came out in, I think, 1979, I wanna say, um, and reacted to that here on the channel. Maybe we'll try to remember to post, the link to that video in the show notes as well. Um, and we're just kind of, like, maybe dumbfounded is the best word with some of the scenes in that in that
Yes.
movie, just like, what is going on in this film?
Y
If you've never seen it, it's wild.
Did you see that there is a new documentary based off of the creation of
Oh, interesting.
the original holiday special? So maybe we need to go watch that as well.
Huh. I cannot fathom how that would go, because I would love to watch a making of the documentary. I have watched documentaries on the making of the original trilogy. I can't imagine watching a documentary on the making of the holiday special, but I guess don't knock it till you've seen it, so.
Yeah, and it just released, like, within the past month or 2
Oh,
maybe, so
really? Huh.
yeah.
Yeah, well, again, we'll post the link down in the show notes to Joey and I's reaction for those of you who've never seen it. I think the actual full length movie, if you can call it a movie, is available on YouTube. Didn't we watch it on
Yeah,
YouTube?
that's where we watched it, yep.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but anyway, so that's the original essentially, and this is kind of like all I thought it was gonna be a remake in a sense, but it's almost kinda like a
Oh.
sequel that's actually done in a very different way, actually a pretty smart way, I thought. Um, I guess just very general brief overview. It focuses largely on the sequel trilogy characters sort of as the core of the movie, and it quickly expands into a lot more than just that. And it kind of takes this angle, and I don't know if we want to give away what that is already, but it takes this angle where it's incorporating people from different time periods of Star Wars, and I thought it was done really well. I actually liked it a lot. So I guess before we dive into any of the specifics, what were your general overview thoughts on the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special?
I mean, like I said, it's Lego, it's Star Wars, it's all gravy, and, this is meant to be fun, this is meant to be, nothing that's too serious or canonical or anything like that. This is supposed to be just a fun little holiday special, and that's all it really is.
Yeah. I think so. I will say, when I was starting it, I actually, my girlfriend and I watched it together, and, when we were starting it, I was, like, a little bit out on it after the first 5
Oh,
minutes. I was
okay.
like, not, like, feeling this. I guess it's okay," you know? And then things quickly ramped up when they took a certain turn, and I was like, "Oh, okay.
Mm,
Now
mhm,
I see where
mhm.
we're going." I anticipated the humor being a lot more corny, and I thought it was actually done in a way where I was like, "That's actually pretty funny."
Yeah.
And I've actually never seen, the Lego Movie or the Lego Movie 2.
What?
I know. I've
Really?
never seen either of them, and
That's
so
crazy.
I had
Wow.
to kinda get adjusted and accommodated to the
Yeah.
like, the style and the humor within it. But after about 10 minutes, I was in. I thought, "Wow, okay, this is a lot better than I thought it was gonna be." I actually
Nice.
really enjoyed this a lot. So, did you have a favorite character in this before we start hopping into some of the
Favorite
specifics?
character? Ooh. I mean, I liked the Emperor, however
That's what I was
they
gonna say.
yeah, the Emperor is pretty funny because it's the exact opposite of what he normally is, so
Yeah.
I think I'd have to go with the Emperor.
There was maybe I should save this for later. I'll say it now because I thought it was so funny. It was my favorite part in the whole movie. There's a part where the Emperor is fighting someone towards the end, and I can't even remember what exactly he did, but he does something like he, like, hits something with a lightsaber or, like, uses force lightning or something, and he goes, "Ha! Dark side."
Yeah, 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 I did remember
And
that
I
part.
was like, "That's
Dark side.
great." I love that. Anyways, yeah, so it was clever. The way it was done, I enjoyed it a lot. The whole film is actually now narrated by Yoda, which was pretty neat as well. Also voiced by Tom Kane, which I did not know until I saw your podcast
Mhm.
notes as well. I kind of enjoyed the angle that it took in terms of Yoda being the one who's doing the storytelling. And then there was almost this like meta of the movie where throughout the movie there were parts of it that were almost making fun of aspects of the real movies.
Yes, I totally agree with that.
And I thought that was so clever. I really I think it did it in a way that wasn't, like, hating on anything, but
Mhm.
also acknowledging that, like, "Okay, this is, like, kinda dumb that we did this in a movie at a certain point, and we're gonna, like, playfully make fun of it, and it's gonna be
You
fine
need
because."
I I know this is a side, but you need to watch the Lego movies for sure. If
I
you like
know,
this
I
movie, this
do.
is they are exactly like this, where it's kinda just got that humor where it's very self-aware of what it is, and it doesn't care. It just makes fun of everything.
Yeah, yeah, I do. I'm honestly shocked that I haven't. Um But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot, and so this actually takes place going back to the last, holiday special, the original one that Joy and I watched. This also takes place on Life Day, which for those of you who don't, if you're like a strictly Star Wars movie only person, Life Day was something that was introduced in the original Star Wars holiday special. It's largely celebrated, I guess, by all people in the Star Wars galaxy, but I guess predominantly by Wookiees,
Mhm.
on Tatooine, and so this Life Day special this Life Day is what's being celebrated in the Star Wars Holiday Special. So it's also being celebrated here in the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special. And I think this is this first scene for those of you watching the video version of the podcast. We're kind of going to be taking you through some of the scenes as we go throughout the podcast episode today. I think this first scene is taking place on the Millennium Falcon, if I'm not mistaken,
Mhm.
and sort of the basic storyline of this entire movie. By the way, highly recommend the movie. It's only like 45 minutes long, pretty quick and
Yeah,
easy watch. It's on Disney Plus. Um, the basic storyline is that Ray, I believe, post episode 9,
yeah.
technically, is training Finn to become a Jedi, and Finn is like struggling with it a little bit, and Ray is getting frustrated because she doesn't feel like she's teaching him well enough, and so she sort of goes on this mission to, I guess, acquire the knowledge or the wisdom in order to understand how to best teach Finn all that is required in order to become a Jedi, or what all consists of that. What did you feel about the basic premise of the movie?
Think it was smart. I think that it really, and this is 2020, right? So this was a year after Rise of Skywalker, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So it gave people a year to digest or regurgitate or whatever they wanted to do with the Rise of Skywalker, and then kind of bring it back here in this fun little 45 minute movie. So I did like that they incorporated that part of it. I mean, of course, you're still going to want to have some type of Jedi element to it. So of course, Rey and Finn being in it, that's the only way they could really gone with it.
The, the prophecy or whatever she gets, I don't even remember where in the movie she obtains it from,
It's
but
actually in this scene, she gets the book. She finds a Jedi book.
oh, she finds the book. Okay,
Yeah,
yes, yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, where everybody thought it was a recipe for what was it? Yip tip or something like that?
Yeah, tip yip.
Tip yip, yeah, whatever tip
Yeah,
yip sounds wonderful, but they were all thinking that that's what the recipe she was finding the recipe for that for Life Day, but in fact, there were Jedi texts that actually said that there was essentially a key in Corduku that helped seize the, Jedi's future. So she had to end up going to this planet Corduku, I think that's how you say it,
yeah, yeah.
and, found this key, which did this remind you of anything here when she would use this key? Did it, remind you of anything in particular maybe we've seen before?
I mean, there's no way they did this and didn't in some way think like it portrayed the world between worlds.
Mhm, mhm.
I mean, look at it. It looks
Yeah.
exactly like the portals in
And
Rebels.
and also reminded me of Doctor Strange's, like, little portal
Oh,
thing that he
yeah, like
does
when
as
he does
well.
this. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I think Marvel had a little bit to do with that.
Hey, it's all Disney now, you know what I mean?
It's the multiverse. It's the
Yeah.
multiverse.
Oh, man. Disney Marvel or, Star Wars Marvel crossovers would be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know how I
Yeah,
feel about that.
would've been great is if how we said it, they're kind of self-aware. If when she did this, you kinda see, like, a Lego version of Doctor Strange just, like, kinda fly across. I
Yeah.
think that would've been pretty great.
That seems like something that would have made it into the Lego movie.
Right, exactly.
Honestly, when I kind of wished this was longer at the end of it. I
Mm,
wish it would
mhm.
have been like a full length 90 minutes after watching it. I thought, man, there's so many like fun jokes that they threw in there. I think they could have even done more if they really wanted to. But so yeah, Ray goes on this journey to find the key of the galaxy's past that will help the Jedi future, as it says. And so one of she goes along this journey and she starts meeting these people, right? And so the first two people she meets, she goes through this portal. She's in this swampy world, and I'm like, man, that looks like Dagobah. And then it zooms out, and you see Luke and Yoda. I'm like, oh my gosh, it is Dagobah,
Yep, yep, yep.
and R2 as well made it into there. And so,
Yeah.
how did you feel? Something I felt mixed feelings about the aspect of seeing each of these scenes from a more comedic lens. Like I'm
Mm.
totally okay with it and I'm here for it and I enjoyed it.
Mhm.
But I could definitely see people out there who are like, you're taking the original trilogies and making a
I
mockery of
know.
it.
It's
But
it's hard, and that's the problem with being a Star Wars fan is that sometimes you think about other Star Wars fans,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And how, like, you think like, "Oh, they're definitely not gonna like this part." So maybe it takes up maybe and it maybe not be a ton, but maybe takes a little bit of the enjoyment out of it for you. But no, I enjoyed it. I thought it was because going into it, you knew like, okay, well, this is obviously Dagobah. This is obviously what's gonna be happening. But, Luke never said any of that, like, "Oh, the blood's getting to my head,"
The
or
blood's
whatever,
getting to my head, yeah.
So, yeah, no, I was completely fine with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't have an issue with it, but I like you said, I was thinking along the lines of other Star Wars fans in this scene, thinking, what are the people who are the diehard Empire Strikes Back fans thinking about this
Mhm.
scene right now? So, by the way, Luke was so derpy in this movie. He seemed like the episode
Yeah.
4 version of Luke was really derpy in the throne room scene. So, anyways, um, and so you see, Yoda training Luke, and Rey is like, "Oh my gosh, that's Master
Mhm.
Skywalker being trained by Master Yoda." And so uh, they go into another portal. They see Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, and Rey is hiding below the table, which is the scene that happens at the very beginning of episode 1 where the gas starts coming into the room.
Mhm.
Um, and so you start to realize that she's going through these scenes with different masters and apprentices. So you
Mhm.
start to think, "Oh, there I know who some people,
Yep.
who we might see next might be." Kind of fun to get a Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan appearance here. Did you have any thoughts in particular about this scene here?
Well, Obi-Wan was not Obi-Wan at all. He was really mad that they were just talking about some trade,
Oh, yeah.
trade
Yeah,
issues, whatever. He wanted to get some fighting in. Then the
yeah.
gas comes in, and he's like, "Yeah, let's go," with his lightsaber. So, yeah, I thought that was not the usual Obi-Wan that you would see, but pretty fun either way.
I'm so glad you said that because this is another one of those meta moments within the movie where, like, when the prequels came out in, when especially episode 1 in '99, like, people were like, "Why are we talking about politics in Star Wars? Like, leave
Right,
the
yeah.
politics out of Star Wars." And so
Right.
here's Obi-Wan in episode 1, the first thing out of his mouth is, "Why are we talking about trade routes?" You know?
Yes, right, right.
So in a way, it was kind of, like, aware of itself to the point where it was able to kind of poke fun at the prequel movies, so pretty fun scene there. And then, of course, in the next scene that Ray goes through with BB-8, she runs into Obi-Wan and Anakin on the elevator at the beginning of Attack of the Clones when they're on their way to visit Padme. What'd you
Yes.
think about the flowers touch
The
in this
flower
scene?
bouquet, yeah, that was, yeah, that's definitely not canon, but I thought it was, really funny just to see Anakin with a huge bouquet of flowers. Would
Yeah,
never have seen that, but but that's where his heart was, so I
yeah.
maybe, like, symbolically, that's what he really wanted to do.
This whole movie, if I had to describe it, I would say it's a mix between Star Wars, Back to the Future, and It's a Wonderful Life.
Nice. Wow, that is actually accurate. With the holiday one at the end, I like it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay, and we'll get to it in a second, but I'll talk more about the "It's a Wonderful Life" piece because right now we're
Okay.
kind of going through the Back to the Future part where
Yeah, sure, sure.
she's going into different time periods and, like, observing other people doing things, and so the next one that follows right after this, she kind of teleports into Luke's X-wing, at
Mhm.
the end of episode 4 when he's doing the trench run, getting ready to blow up the Death Star. This is another one of those scenes that I was like, "Man, the OG, original trilogy fans are thinking, 'Dang, like,
Right, right.
this trench scene this trench
Yeah, yeah.
scene is, not going down like this in the movie the way it is in
Right,
the
yeah.
the Lego
You
Star
just
Wars
completely
Holiday
and that
Special.
like you said, it's, like, very Back to the Future where she comes in and essentially changes I mean, the end result still is the same, but now in this universe, she actually helps Luke? Oh my gosh,
Mhm.
the people who don't like Rey are gonna be real mad about this one, so
Yeah, and then we actually hear Han's voice for the first time in this one, which was pretty
Mhm.
cool.
Right.
In the following scene and actually Vader was in that scene as well, but we get
Yeah.
a better glimpse of Vader in one of the next scenes when he's with the Emperor, and this is taking place in Return of the Jedi time period. So, it's in the throne room and, um I just love we mentioned it at the top of this segment of the podcast, but the Emperor is done in a way where, if Joey, have you ever seen the Star Wars Family Guy special?
Yes, I have.
Okay, the
Yeah.
Emperor in this movie reminds me a lot of Stewie as Darth Vader
That's
in the
great.
Family
Yeah,
Guy
yeah, yeah.
special.
I like it,
Um,
yeah.
which by the way, I don't know if we've ever
I
reacted
don't
to
think we've
those.
no, we have not, yeah. It's been
There's a
so long too, I probably could watch it, like, fresh.
future podcast idea, just saying.
Yep.
So at the Emperor's instruction, Vader chases Rey through one of the portals, and so immediately we go into a planet we are very familiar with here on this podcast, and we see Vader and Rey get zapped onto Hoth, and immediately I'm thinking, wait, Vader is in this scene. Are we gonna
Yep.
see this Vader battle, which is inevitably what happened? And there was this pretty fun scene where the stormtroopers are trying to figure out, what do we do in this scenario? What's the protocol here? One of them says.
Right.
Uh, pretty well done. What'd you think of the Hoth sequence?
I when it happened, I'm like, "Oh, we gotta talk about it for sure because it's on
Yeah.
Hoth." So, I was happy with it. But, yeah, the just seeing the Vader versus Vader was so silly and very much now that you mention it, I can't stop thinking about it now, but a very much a Back to the Future type of moment where you run into the past version of yourself or you run into the past version of your parents or something like that, and you have like, "Oh, what do we do here? This is confusing," and it's even like the Spider-Man meme where the three of them are pointing at each other. So yeah, this was a lot of fun. This part was fun.
Yeah. In the next scene, they actually end up on Tatooine, and we get a chance to see, believe it's young Luke Skywalker. And
Hmm.
one of the best parts about this scene was, did you see what he was drinking?
He was blue milk and he had it on his lip there. Yeah, yeah,
And it was out of like a milk carton.
yeah,
Which I also
yeah.
thought was,
Derpy would be right.
yeah, I thought that was pretty cute as well. Inevitably, this scene, well, actually, there's a ton of them in this scene. Something we didn't note is that throughout all of these scenes that we've just mentioned, there's like this gradual buildup of the people from the various times, like slowly making their way to this one scene. At one point, there's like three Obi-Wans from three different time periods looking at each
Hmm.
other, and they all say hello there. There's like old Han and young Han. There's young
Hmm.
Luke, old Luke. So it was done in a way that was, I thought it was it was pretty funny and pretty enjoyable. Han shot Greedo in this scene. Both of the
Yep,
Hans shot
both
Greedo.
of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the end result of this scene is that Vader takes the key that Rey has found, and back to the Emperor, back to the throne room, the episode 6 time period. Um, and it's at that point in the movie, or the holiday special, where it felt like it sort of turned into, for those who haven't seen It's a Wonderful Life, trying to think of a better analogy, but maybe I'll just stick with It's a Wonderful Life for the sake of the reference. It's Yoda shows up, ghost form of Yoda shows up, who apparently has been narrating this entire thing, and talks to Ray, is like, the importance of the master apprentice thing, is
Hmm.
not the master apprentice piece, it's the friendship piece, which I thought was kind of like also like, okay, like Ray's big piece of advice she gets from Yoda is that it's about friendship. I'm like, okay.
The This was very much what is it? Young Jedi Adventures. This
Yeah.
is that's what that reminded me of there.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't mind it again. It's
Mhm.
funny, the fact that this whole thing is Lego just adds this built-in element of, it's okay if it's dumb,
Yeah.
because it's Lego. It's not like,
Right.
not that Lego is dumb, of course, but just that, like, it adds sort of a silly element to it, in the sense that it's not what we know it to be. Yeah, rocking the Yoda Starfighter right there. And so because it's like, it's a version of what we know and love that is not being altered in a negative way, but is done inherently in a comedic way. It's
Mhm.
like, okay, like the key to all of this was friendship. Sure, we'll go with it. I
Y
didn't I
Right,
didn't
yeah.
mind it. I didn't have an issue with it. And also it reminded me of the scene kind of with Luke and Yoda, on, gosh, I always forget the name of the planet from The Last Jedi that's on, but that scene in
Yes, I know you're talking
Octo?
about Octo, yeah, Octo, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so basically, like, she is the key because friendship is the key, and so, shortly thereafter, Rey and Luke join forces. This is now episode 6 version of Luke, to fight Kylo, who there was this whole sequence where
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Vader and the Emperor, go, like, into the future to meet Kylo. The Emperor is like, "All right, am I the ruler of the entire galaxy?" And Kylo's like, "Well, you know, that guy right there, Vader might have thrown you down a reactor shaft." And so then he makes Kylo his new apprentice, and like effectively demotes Vader, and they have this whole argument between like what's higher in the totem pole,
Yeah,
emperor or supreme leader,
right.
which I thought was pretty fun as well. So there's this big sequence where Rey and Luke fight Kylo, Vader, and the Emperor. Of course, the thing they are fighting over is this key. Did you have a favorite portion of this scene in particular, or something that stood out to you as kind of the highlight of this moment in the movie?
I think, we're gonna talk about it in a second here, but I think at the end of this fight when essentially the both Lukes are down because the episode 4 and episode 6 Lukes are both in this particular scene.
That's right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then I think they both go down, and then it ends up being the Emperor versus Rey for a little bit, and then Emperor's like, "You're all alone." Then Rey comes back, "Oh no, I'm not alone." And then the episode 6 Luke comes back, and he helps out getting the key, and they kind of help out each other out. So I think that was kind of cool. But then of course the ending part of it with when it was Vader had to get rid of the Emperor when he picked him up to toss him down the reactor shaft. At some point, the lightning turned Vader's suit into a Christmas sweater. I don't know why, for whatever reason, that has the Death Star on it. I just thought that was I like laughed like out loud when I saw that part happen. So maybe not for like the reasons of this is a great storyline, but just such a silly addition to it. Like they absolutely didn't have to do that, but they did for some reason, and it was funny. What about you? Did you have a good moment here that you liked here?
I did, yes. My favorite moment from this scene, apart from all the Emperor stuff, was probably when Kylo was, like, hesitant to join the Emperor's fight against Rey, and Vader, and then he sees Luke, and he's like, "I'm gonna kill that guy." I don't know if he says that, something to that
Right.
effect. And then Luke at one point in the fight's like, "I don't even know who you are, dude," because
Yeah, right. This
it's
this
episode
before
6
yeah, yeah.
Luke and episode 7 Kylo or episode 9 Kylo or whatever, so I
Yeah,
thought that was
yeah,
pretty fun as well, like, he doesn't I don't even know this guy.
yeah. I that actually slipped. I didn't even realize that. That's a pretty good one.
Yeah, yeah. So like you said, Vader tosses the Emperor over the ledge, which is the finale sort of this throne room scene. Friendship takes the day. Inevitably, after this scene, Rey unites with the rest of her friends on the Falcon for the remainder of Life Day. We got a little bit of Lando Calrissian in there. Did you catch
Mhm.
that?
I did. Of course I did. Yeah.
And oh man, the deep Star Wars knowledge of the name of the blue elephant from Jabba's palace is escaping me right now.
Oh,
But he also made the scene. Comment
yes,
down
he did.
below if you know it.
Oh god, I keep wanting to say Babu Frick, but that's wrong.
No, but Babu Frick was in this movie
Babu
too.
Frick was in it. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, lots of great characters who just seemingly got kind of thrown in the end. Ewok or not Ewok, Wicket the Ewok was in this
Mhm.
scene. Couple of Jawas. It was everyone who was here for the party on Life Day. So
Max
M-
Rebo. Thank you, Gibbo.
Max Rebo. I You could have given me like 100 tries and I would not have thought of that. So
Fun fact,
uh
there are two voice actors that were the actual actors, in the movies. Do you know who they were?
voice actors that were actual actors in the movies. Voice
Yeah, so,
actors
like,
in this movie?
in this movie, there were 2 of them were the
Oh.
actual actors that were in the movies.
Is Harrison Ford one of them?
He is not.
Oh. Oh, I like this game. Oh, hold on, let me think. I don't think it's any of the sequel characters, is it?
O okay.
I think it's Oh, it's not Adam Driver. No.
Adam Driver is not, no. Actually, I'm sorry,
Uh,
there's 3. There's actually 3, my bad. There's actually
3.
3.
Wow. Are they big
There's 3.
characters or are they small characters?
I mean, they're all small, they're Legos, they're tiny.
I'm gonna go with does Chewbacca
Mhm.
count?
Uh, he does, but not him.
Oh, man. Anthony Daniels?
That's 1?
Is it actually? Okay, cool. I got
Yeah,
1.
mhm.
I was
That's
like
1.
0 for 6 up to that point. Okay, so we got Anthony Daniels. Give me a hint. Are these droids or are they like living species?
Both are living species.
Are they humans?
They are humans.
Okay, both humans. Hmm. Poe?
One who? Poe?
Poe?
No, no. One of them is one of the well, actually, they're both in the sequel trilogy.
Both in the sequel trilogy.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting. Ray's voice did not sound like Daisy Ridley, so I don't think
not
it's
her, no.
her. And Finn's voice did not sound like John Boyega.
Nope, not him either.
Oh, and they're sequel trilogy characters?
So one of them you just mentioned.
Poe?
No,
Finn?
no, 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 I mean, in discussion.
Oh, really?
My favorite character.
Oh, Lando.
Yep.
Wow, okay, you said sequel trilogy and I
I know,
I didn't
I may have been a little bit cheeky on that one. So there's one.
someone out there, Joey, is saying, "You think Lando is a sequel trilogy character?"
He is. He is in there.
Billy D. Williams voiced that?
Mhm.
Wow, okay. So Billy D. Williams, Anthony Daniels. So I imagine the third person is probably also an old timer if they had those
No,
2.
you're not. No,
Oh, it's
they are truly a sequel trilogy. She was introduced
oh.
in episode
Oh,
8.
Rose.
Rose, yes.
Okay,
That's right.
cool. I like that.
Yes. She had more lines in this than she did in Rise of
Rise of
Skywalker, by the
Skywalker? Wow. Is that true?
way.
Probably, isn't it?
Probably, I think it probably is true.
Wow.
But yeah.
Well, all in all, this was a really fun movie to watch. I was a little bit skeptical about how much I would actually enjoy this.
Mhm.
And after having talked with you about it for a little bit here, the past like half hour to 40 minutes or so, I'd probably say my opinion of it has even gone up more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. How about you?
Yeah, I think it's a I think I set my expectation, properly, so
Okay.
I think where I had it, I had initially that's where I feel like it was.
So I see my expectation was low, and so I
Mm.
exceeded it pretty significantly. So it'll be interesting
Look, I
because
think it's
both
because 'cause I've seen Lego movies too, I think that might be part
right,
of it, though.
right. I think it'll be interesting because both you and I gave Gibbo our scores out of 10 for this episode,
Mhm.
and neither of us know what we gave the episode.
Okay.
I,
Yeah,
I
that's
will I
true.
will also caveat mine by saying I would probably up mine by like half a point.
Okay.
But I'm curious
Alright.
to see what yours is. Did you have anything else you wanted to add about the movie before we hop into
No, I
our
think
our
it's
rankings?
I think it's a fun little 45-minute show that you need to watch, and especially for the holiday season. It's
Yeah,
silly, it's fun, it's Star Wars, it's Lego, so
yeah. This was a blast to watch. I enjoyed it a lot. Do you have any guesses for what each of us, what should I guess for you or should you guess for
yeah,
me or
yeah,
should we just
I'm gonna guess you put it at a 8.
okay. I man, I don't know what to guess for you. I feel like I think you gave it an 8.5.
Okay, okay.
All right, should we reveal?
Yeah, let's see what we got here.
Okay.
Oh, we
Oh!
once again.
We're oh my goodness. For those that are audio podcast listeners, Joey and I both gave the movie an 8 out of 10. Which is
Once
also what
again,
happened 2 weeks ago when we did our rankings of the 5, Disney Plus Star Wars shows. We had the exact same 5
yes.
rankings. So,
Yes, and, for me, it being all that Star Wars Lego and everything like that, like, I think of 10s, obviously, I think of really great shows, not saying that this wasn't, but, as far as the Star Wars universe is concerned, you don't wanna, this wasn't, like, the absolute best thing I've ever seen, but it's still but it was definitely very fun, and I thought 8 was, appropriate for that.
yeah. Yeah, something that I think I take into account with this movie is because it's so satirical and you go in with the knowledge that it's not going to foundationally affect the way you view or enjoy Star Wars,
Mhm,
you kind of just approach it with more of an open mind and more of a sense of no matter what I'm going to see here, I'm not going to come away from it with negative feelings. And so,
right.
in some way, that probably shifts the scale a little bit more towards 10 because you're
Mm,
not as critical of it because it's not, it's not this canonical thing that's like life or death in terms of
right,
how it's going to affect the story. Uh,
right.
all that to say, I think an 8
Yeah.
out of 10 is pretty good. Although technically mine's an 8.5. I did say
Yeah,
before,
you did, yeah.
uh, but
But
this
I did nail the prediction, at least,
you
initially.
did. You did. So the reason I went 8.5 and not 8 is because I was like, would he guess the same thing that he put for what I put? I was
Sh
metagaming and I should have just gone
sh
with my gut.
surely not.
Once again, slowly proving that we're becoming more and more the same person and the same Star Wars fan. So, um, actually, maybe we can get Gibbo to watch this sometime and have him give his ranking on a scale of 1 to 10 as well.
Yeah.
Be curious to see. Any last closing thoughts before we? Oh, I guess before we do any closing thoughts. Oh, wait, Gibbo letting us know he did watch and he ranked it at an 8.5.
8.5, so he was ahead of both of us,
Yes.
and gets matched with you at the end of this.
Right. So does that mean Gibbo and I are becoming more of the same Star Wars
I
fan
think
now?
So yeah, I think you're kind of like in the middle since you shifted. I
Mm,
think it's me, then you, and then Gibbo.
I'm like a 8.25 or something like
Yeah,
that.
that's about right.
Yeah. Gibbo said he could only hope. Well, on next week's episode of the Hoth Hangout podcast, it's going to be kind of a nostalgic one as we take a look back at the year in review of 2023. Everything that the year has provided us in terms of Star Wars content. We'll be kind of touching on many, many, many things and talking about some of our favorites and perhaps some of our not so favorites. Join us next week for that episode, episode 62 of the Hoth Hangout podcast. Which, speaking of, we got so many great Star Wars things in 2023. And after having heard kind of with all the delays of the new shows, I'm like, man, I don't know. Looking at 2024, it feels like it may not match 2023. I'm hopeful it will, but when you look at this year, we got the second season of Bad Batch, we got the third
Hmm.
season of Mando, we got the second volume of Star Wars Visions, we got Ahsoka, we got Star Wars Jedi Survivor, the video game. We even got Star Wars Young Jedi Adventures, lots of new books, and the High Republic era. And so just got a ton this year, and I hope 2024 can match it because 2023 was a pretty fun year. So,
Yeah. It's
um,
gonna be, it's just like anything, peaks and valleys, so
yeah,
I
yeah,
wouldn't necessarily call it 2024 a valley, like, it's so low, but, you know, 2023 definitely had a lot of highs. So,
yeah,
can't wait to talk about all that next week.
definitely. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun one. We want to thank you so much for listening to episode 61 of the Hoth Hangout podcast. You can join us every Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern to listen to our latest episode of the podcast, including this one, which will go out this week, December 21st, I guess, for episode 61. Additionally, you can find us on YouTube at Hoth Hangout. Definitely check us out there. Hit that subscribe button. We want to thank the 356 of you who are subscribed over on YouTube. Thank you for being a subscriber. Check out all the latest video versions of the podcast there, as well as our episode reactions when new Star Wars shows are coming out. You can also reach us via email at hothangout@gmail.com with your Star Wars thoughts or questions or anything otherwise related. We love to display those here on the podcast. Additionally, you can check out the audio version of the podcast on Spotify and Apple and anywhere you get your podcasts. And whatever platform you're listening on, leave us a 5-star review. We would appreciate it very much. And it helps with some of the discoverability of the podcast for other people to enjoy listening as well, and for them to get a chance to connect with us as Star Wars fans. Additionally, you can reach us on the socials, whether it be Instagram, TikTok, or X at Hoth Hangout on each of those various platforms. We'd love to have a chance to chat with you on any of those. Also, want to say a big thank you to Gibbo for producing today's show, the video, the assets, and for being our favorite Lego mini figure. Joey, Gibbo, any closing thoughts on today's episode?
No, love Legos, love Star Wars. This was exactly what we wanted. It's yeah, we're getting into this holiday season. I think this really, launches us right into it with all the holiday feels with Life Day and Star Wars. So yeah, this was episode 61. I can't believe we've gone this far, man. And I've said it before, I've said it again. Working with the two of you have been so great. So thank you for letting me be on this journey with you all as well.
Absolutely. Gibbo, you got anything before we sign off? Gibbo with the little Santa Claus stormtrooper. Yeah, happy holidays and Merry Christmas to everyone as well. Hope you guys have a wonderful time spent with family over the next week. Look at the beard coming out from under that stormtrooper's helmet right there. I
Santa
like
Trooper.
that. Santa Trooper. There we go. Yeah. Shout out to George Lucas. Shout out to Dave Filoni. Shout out to all of you wonderful Star Wars fans out there listening to this. We appreciate you so very much. We'll catch you every Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, including next week's episode when we will be doing the Star Wars 2023 year in review. Hope to see y'all soon. Thanks so much for listening to today's episode as well. And until next time, may the Force be with you.